What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name is Kyle. In this video, we're doing a live PPR mock draft, 12-team ESPN. I'm going to be in pick 6 tonight. I guess if you want to check out my picks 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I've already made those videos. You can go to the YouTube channel or listen on to one of our podcasts. But tonight, pick number 6, I did make just Ja'Marr Chase the thumbnail of this video. He is the number 6 ranked player on ESPN. And with my rankings, too, he actually turns out to be my number 6 best flex option. So this draft's about to start in 1 minute. Before we get started there, I did want to shout out Aiden. He's going to be, it looks like he's drafting from pick 11. And then we do have Justin in here at pick number 8. So we got a few guys drafting with us tonight. We'll monitor those teams. And basically, we're just trying to, it's a mock draft. It's July. We're just trying to have fun and just try and make some different teams. And again, thumbnail guy, Ja'Marr Chase. We'll see if I can make a team with Ja'Marr Chase as the first round pick. And then 30 seconds before we go, just some housekeeping rules. Check out the 2022 draft kit. I got my projections. You get access to the Google sheet that I'll be accessing, throughout the whole draft here tonight. Rankings, cheat sheets, all that good stuff. And I'll continue to add stuff throughout the summer. So just $15. Check it out. There's a link in the description below. And here we go. We're about to start this draft. Looks like there's a few auto picks going on in here. Good evening to Justin. And yeah, he's in the 8th pick tonight. We'll see what he can do there. I think probably a running back at that point. And then, yeah, you guys both, Aiden and Justin, both have the 2022 draft kit. So check it out. Lots of projections and numbers. And I have off of work tomorrow. I'm going to be editing and updating the website. Basically, I think every Friday, I'll continue to update that stuff. So I appreciate the kind words on the draft kit, guys. But we are underway. Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, the first 2 players off the board. Cooper Kupp, the first wide receiver off the board at pick number 3. There's Derrick Henry at pick number 4. That's a little bit of a reach for me in terms of PPR. And then you get Austin Eckler. So in the first 5 picks, you see 4 running backs and Cooper Kupp. Now, typically, in real life, I'm hitting, accept on Justin Jefferson, but I think for the sake of the video, I'm going to assume Justin Jefferson already was taken in the top 5 picks. Again, if this was real life, I have Justin Jefferson as my 2nd ranked player, my 2nd ranked wide receiver. I would do it. But just for the sake of the video, I'm going to continue to take Ja'Marr Chase here, and we'll see if we can build a team with Ja'Marr Chase. At the 6th pick, it feels a little weird. And again, I get it. I would take Justin Jefferson, but for the sake of the video, again, I'm trying to make a pick in every different spot, 1 through 12. So we'll go with Ja'Marr Chase here, and we'll see. Maybe our guy Justin will get at pick number 8. Maybe he'll get Justin Jefferson. And interesting. Yeah, the summer league has been going on. I saw that the game that Chet put up the other night was pretty spectacular. So there's a lot going on. July is interesting because in 2 weeks we're going to get NFL training camp reports. We're going to see rookies starting to report, I think, as early as like July 18th. Most rookies will be in camp by July 23rd, and then I believe most vets will be in training camp by July 26th. So. Man, these next 2 weeks, we just got to get through. Hopefully no one is in the headlines for the bad reasons. And we'll be looking at real training camp updates in 2 weeks. So after I took Ja'Marr Chase, you see Justin Jefferson go. So I think it's safe to say by pick number 7, you're looking pretty much at the 3 receivers. You're not going to get Cooper Kupp, but if you're sitting at 6 and 7, you have a good chance for Ja'Marr Chase and Justin Jefferson. You're probably not going to be getting Jonathan Taylor or Christian McCaffrey. And the guys that usually fall, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, those are some of the running backs that are there. But I do like, Justin ends up with Dalvin Cook, one of my favorite running backs to draft in the first round. And I have to continue to harp on it. You see Alvin Kamara go round 1, pick 9. That's way too early, guys. He's going to be suspended a minimum 6 games. He has his hearing in August. I think it's August 1st that starts. So we'll get more clarity when I'm assuming most of you guys will be doing your redraft, like your home leagues, like at the end of the month on August, hopefully, or, somewhere closer towards Labor Day. So we should know what's going on with AK-41, but man, if he's going to be missing 6 games, I don't think you can think about him until the 3rd, probably the 4th round for me. So pump the brakes on Alvin Kamara in the first round. For me, in a 12-team league, I think you're probably going to want to end up taking him end of the 3rd is probably the earliest. I think if you're at that 3-4 turn, I think 4th round is probably where I want to do it. If he's missing the first 6 games, and then you always have the opportunity for him to get injured or something could happen, when he's healthy. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. I think If we do get clarity, it's probably a late third, fourth round pick for me on Alvin Kamara. And after Kamara went, you see Joe Mixon, Devontae Adams, and Najee Harris sliding all the way to the 12th overall spot. I like Aiden Tobin snagging Devontae Adams there. We'll see who he gets to pair with him. But Najee finishes round 1. There's Leonard Fournette, and then Aiden comes back with Devontae and Stephon Diggs. So I like the attack there, double dipping in potential top 5 wide receivers, make his strength even stronger. So I like that attack right there. DeAndre Swift goes right after Deebo Samuel next, and then we have Justin on the board here. And again, Justin started with Dalvin Cook, so we'll see he pairs him with James Conner. James Conner in the second round. Can't fault it. The dude's going to be set up for tons of volume. My only question is, it seems like up until last year, it seemed like James Conner was kind of made of glass and just seemed like everything was against him playing a full season. But I think James Conner he won me leagues last year, so I'm all aboard James Conner. Round 2 is the price. I'm up to pick here. I do have 30 seconds to make the deal. And again, I started with Jamar Chase. There's Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb intrigues me a lot, but my guy Mike Evans, technically with my rankings, my wide receiver rankings, I do have Mike Evans ranked 1 ahead of CeeDee Lamb, so I think that's going to be the move. And again, I kind of mentioned it with what Aiden does when he took his double receivers. It's making his strength stronger, so I'm gonna snag CeeDee Lamb just because he's ranked higher. See if Mike Evans makes his way back to me. And yeah, some high scoring division guys. Thoughts on Connor? I would have 2 great RBs. So it's interesting because Justin went with the double RB approach, and Aiden did the double receiver approach, which is good for just different varieties here. Now you have Dalvin Cook as your RB1. I think everyone will agree he's a top 5, top 10 potential running back when healthy. And then most people would probably end up drafting James Conner as their RB1, but you put him at your RB2 spot, which that's a strength there. I think most people would agree James Conner, he's a top 10, top 12 running back threat this season. And the fact that you have him as your RB2, again, that's just complementing your strengths there. You have 2 stud running backs, basically 2 RB1s. So I think as your RB2, that makes a ton of sense to me. And then if we're worried about handcuffing him, we can. I just think if anything happens to James Conner, there's going to probably be a committee there. But man, we know he's a really good receiving back. Chase Edmonds is out of the picture now. You could see a lot of work coming to James Conner, and I think he's going to be off to a hot start there. And that Arizona Cardinals defense, guys, if you guys can name name as many Arizona Cardinal defensive players as you can. I think it's going to be a rough year for the Cardinals on defense. But as we move on here, again, I ended up with I double tapped receiver. I have Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb. Essentially, CeeDee Lamb was my 6th ranked wide receiver in terms of flex rankings. That makes him my 13th best overall player, and Jamar Chase was my 6th. So I'm sitting pretty good with the value there. But after I took CeeDee, you see Tyreek Hill, Aaron Jones, Keenan Allen, Saquon Barkley, Javonte Williams, Cam Akers, Mike Evans, T. Higgins. So I'm missing out on some of my favorite players here. But as we enter the 3rd round, I guess I just want to recap the 2nd round real quick. The running backs in the 2nd round, man. I guess starting with Leonard Fournette, DeAndre Swift, James Conner, Aaron Jones, Saquon Barkley, that's a really good proposition. Like taking one of those running backs in the 2nd round makes a lot of sense. And then the receivers that I like in the 2nd round, I mean, Aiden got a gift with Stephon Diggs there when he got him, but I love Diggs, I love Lamb, I love Mike Evans, and now I'm up to pick. And it looks like in the 3rd round here, I'm looking at Jalen Waddle, Mark Andrews, AJ Brown. There's DJ Moore, who got the QB upgrade. I'm interested in DJ Moore with Baker Mayfield. I think that could be a lot of fun. Mike Williams is kind of low on the list here. I still don't have a running back. Nick Chubb intrigues me a little bit here as I'm running up to pick here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to hit Mark Andrews because Mark Andrews in the 3rd round doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. He's going to be the focal point of the Ravens offense. No Marquise Brown. I'm just gonna I'm kind of avoiding running back there, but I'm taking one of the top players at the position here. I do have Mark Andrews ranked as the 17th best flex player. I have him above a lot of the running backs and the receivers that have been taken ahead of him. So I'm all aboard. Round 3, Mark Andrews just seems like too good to ignore. And then Mark Andrews round 3, guys. To me he's a top 20 player. He should be going in the 2nd round. And if you guys watch my stuff, you know I don't love taking tight end early, but if you're going to give me value on a Mark Andrews who just last year was just unbelievable. And again, in my flex scoring, he comes in as my 17th best player, which is a mid-second round value. So I got him a round cheaper than normal. Now, after I took Mark Andrews, you see Nick Chubb. I thought about Nick Chubb. There were some interesting reports today out on the Deshaun Watson front saying like the NFL had like no evidence on like violence or any kind of like, bullshit going on with his case, which makes people pump the brakes and think maybe it's not a full season. Maybe he's only suspended 6-8 games, which would be a boost for all Cleveland Brown players. No matter how you feel about Deshaun Watson, how he is on the field is going to be a boost to all the potential players that he's playing with. So Nick Chubb, after we take Mark Andrews, round 3, pick 7. Jalen Waddle, that's a really good pick there for our guy Justin. So he's got Dalvin Cook, James Conner, and Jalen Waddle. And now you see, Jalen Waddle last season, he was just phenomenal. In terms of value here, I have him as my 28th best player available, which is solid value. Again, he's going to compete with Tyreek Hill, but I do think you're going to see an increase in passing attempts potentially for these guys. And he's probably going to lead the team in receptions, maybe not in yards, maybe not in touchdowns, but you got to think he's going to flirt with 80 to 90 total receptions this year. So I love that pick. He does look best as a wide receiver too, but in Justin's case, it doesn't really matter. He's got 2 stud RBs. Now he's just going to be collecting receivers as he goes. So let me see here. Yeah, I'm not taking anyone on the Browns. The one Brown that does interest me, I guess, it is Nick Chubb, just because it doesn't really matter. They're going to run the ball with him a ton. But I'm kind of interested in Njoku. If you want to punt on tight end, Njoku's not a bad guy. And yeah, just how do you defend the Miami Dolphins offense? You have to think about Tyreek Hill. You also have to think about Waddle. But you have to think about Gesicki. There's Chase Edmonds. There's some speed there with Cedric Wilson. They have a lot of pieces now, and I just think defenses are probably going to let Jalen Waddle do underneath things. They're not going to let Tyreek Hill go over the top and that kind of thing. So he's going to get all the attention. I do think there's going to be some good games from Waddle coming up. Yeah, Andrews round 3, and then you come back with Darren Waller. Dang, that's a good round 4. That's almost to get Mark Andrews round 3 or Darren Waller round 4. That's phenomenal value. Let me double check and see what Aiden's got cooking here. So he came DJ Moore round 3, pick 10. I like that pick. Aiden goes and gets Josh Jacobs round 3, pick 11. AJ Brown, J.K. Dobbins, and he comes back with Amon-Ra St. Brown. So his receiver group: Devontae, Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown in the flex. I do think if you're going to draft Amon-Ra St. Brown, he does look best as a wide receiver 3 flex. So I like the value there. And then, yeah, I have to agree with you that so you're going to be rocking the Raiders offense, which I don't have a problem with, but just think, man, they're going to be able to move the ball so much better having Devontae, a healthy Waller, Renfro, Jacobs, and this new kind of approach that they're going to have on offense is going to be refreshing. So I'm a huge fan of the Raiders. We saw Justin take Darren Waller as well. So I think Josh Jacobs has a lot of potential when they get to the red zone. And I think even Derek Carr probably needs to be discussed here. So I am up to pick. I still do not have a running back. There's some guys that interest me, whether it's Gibson, still a little bit early for him. I'm interested in if I can get Travis Etienne on the round 5 comeback, I will do so. But I think I have to go and get my guy Mike Williams. I have Mike Williams ranked as a top 10 wide receiver. Let me show you where I have him. He's my wide receiver 8, and in terms of flex value, he is. Dang, I have him up here as my 18th best player. So I'm just in my flex rankings. I have player number 6 with Jamar Chase. I do have CeeDee Lamb, who's my number 13, Mark Andrews, and Mike Williams. So I have 4 of my top 18 players here. And yeah, I think if you want to get into the AFC West, man, like you can literally just build your fantasy profile team around the AFC West and just be all in on that division. So, and yeah, Mike Williams, and especially for me, he's my wide receiver 3, which I think you put him up against most people's flexes, and I think that's going to do some damage. So, and again, Keenan Allen's getting another year older, guys. I'm a little bit nervous about him holding up for a full season, which would mean you're potentially looking at big Mike Williams getting 10 and 12 targets almost per game if he's the lead candidate there for targets. So, I'm interested in ETN. We need to know more about James Robinson. If they tell me James Robinson's not going to, if they say James Robinson's going to start the year on the PUP list, meaning he's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks, which I just found out. The new PUP list rule is if he's out the PUP list, you can be out 4 or 6 games, which is kind of a new wrinkle. But I'm up to pick here. I did miss out on Cortland Sutton, one of my favorite wide receivers there. I'm looking at the board, and I know I like waiting on QB, but Justin Herbert seemed to fall into the 5th round, and that's kind of my cut line here, because Godwin not going to play most of the year. Jerry Jeudy, I love Jerry Jeudy, but still a little bit of a gamble. I think he's more of a wide receiver 3. Herbert, Cooper, Lockett, Davis, Elijah Mitchell, all these guys you can kind of poke holes into. I don't think you can poke a hole into Justin Herbert, and I got Mike Williams there to pair with. I got that fun stack there. So to me, if I'm up in the 5th round and I see if Patrick Mahomes is there, if Justin Herbert's there in the 5th round, and I'm looking at some of the guys here, just take the home run pick, grab the quarterback, and now we're going to be rocking and rolling in the 6th, 7th, 8th round. So sprinted, and yeah, so I like the Snoop Connor pick as well. But man, like James Robinson is just a guy that people, no matter what you think about James Robinson, he's a damn good running back, but people always seem to count him out, and he's always going to beat whatever you have for expectations. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's like healthy and activated for week 1. Maybe he's not, getting full snaps and full workload, but man, it wouldn't surprise me if he just, comes back like a horse and it surprises us. So maybe I think that 4 to 6 week is interesting, but either way, ETN is going to be a phenomenal receiving running back. And you think about what Doug Peterson's done in the past, he's always had room for 2 running backs. He has kind of his between the tackles guy, and he's got his possession 3rd down kind of pass catching back. So I do, so I think them in tandem is going to be a lot of fun. So ETN went round 4. Let me do a recap here for you guys. I guess round 4 ended with ETN, DK Metcalf. At the top of round 5, you have Brandon Cooks, Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts. Those are all phenomenal round 5 picks there. I like all those guys. There's Cortland Sutton, Marquise Brown. I went with Justin Herbert. You see Chris Godwin, who's just a no-no on our list. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, round 5, pick 8. George Kittle, Miles Sanders, and then Aiden goes and gets Elijah Mitchell. I like Elijah Mitchell. I'm a little bit worried. In a PPR format, he's not going to be a super high catch player here, but I think a guy that's probably going to be able to run for 80, 90 yards, have a floor of 8 to 10 points per week. Good bet there. And then the Clyde Edwards-Helaire pick, round 5, pick 8. It's weird because I play on different formats, right? So if you play on drafters or underdog or sleeper or whatever, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, his ADP is all over the place from the 5th round to the 7th round. So to get for Aiden, or it looked like Justin got Clyde Edwards-Helaire as his flex running back 3. That's good value on that right there. And then as we get into, we're rolling into the 6th round right now. I want to just take a peek here. Aiden's on the board. Let's see here. He's got Josh Jacobs, Elijah Mitchell as his starting running backs. Receivers, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then Adam Thielen. That's a really smart pick. That's what I like about this. You have Thielen on the bench. You don't need him. He's kind of a luxury there for you, where if Amon-Ra St. Brown ain't cutting it, you can potentially whip in Adam Thielen. So I like the depth there. And again, people are kind of sleeping on Thielen. He's a solid round 6 pick. And then Justin's up to pick right now. He's got Dalvin Cook, James Conner, receivers, Waddle, Lockett, tight end Darren Waller, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I like the balanced approach here. I am on the board. Let me look for my team here. Still don't have a running back. I'm looking at Cordero Patterson, Devin Singletary is the best available. Not super in love with those guys. I don't want to reach on a running back here, but man, AJ Dillon is probably a guy that I wouldn't mind reaching for. I'm kind of interested in Devin Singletary. I think a lot of people are sleeping on him. He could be a huge factor this season. Let me just double check the receivers. Thomas, Renfro, I have 10 seconds to make the deal. I like Rashad Bateman here, but man, I'm going to go ahead and get my one guy that I know that I really, really want, and that's AJ Dillon. I have him ranked as a top 20 running back. I'll see what the running back value looks like on the way down. But I got a lot of, I guess I'm going 0 running back in this draft. There's a lot of guys that I like, and I can even probably start putting them in the queue. I mean, at some point, Devin Singletary, I know James Cook is there, but you have to still respect the amount of work that Devin Singletary put into the last 5 games of the season. He was just a carry and a touch monster. Not the greatest receiving back, but I think you could see 10 to 15 touches for him, through the ground and still be the leading ball carrier. And then you're going to probably see James Cook as the leading receiving weapon. So I'm kind of interested there as I'm up to pick here after I took After I took Dillon, Dalton Schultz, Renfro, C-Pat, Singletary, Murray, Michael Thomas, Bateman, Kareem Hunt, Goddard, Prescott. So the value on quarterbacks looks pretty good here. I could go and get Damien Harris. I still like a lot of players on this board here. Let me just filter by all. Juju Smith-Schuster is interesting. I think he's going to probably be the leading receiver for Patrick Mahomes. Definitely not a tight end, not Kelsey, but that could be a lot of fun there. Let me just look at the running back spots here. I should probably just take Damien Harris. He's going to be the RB2 for me to start the year. So I'm locked in with Dillon and Harris, both touchdown ball carrier type guys. Thoughts on Rashad Penny? I'm glad you asked, because Penny he's been listed as the starter, and ESPN's ADP finally reflects that. They have Rashad Penny as the 117th ranked running back or player. Kenneth Walker is the 129th. So you have to think about Pete Carroll. He's never really had a rookie running back where they've given everything to. You even remember when they took Rashad Penny in the first round, Chris Carson said, "Nuh-uh, I'm the starting running back." So I think we're gonna have to wait and see what happens in training camp. For now, I am projecting more points for Rashad Penny. I think depends on what platform you play on. When I play best ball leagues on Drafters or on Underdog, Penny's ADP it's reversed. Kenneth Walker goes 8th, 9th round, and Rashad Penny goes like 10th, 11th round. So I do like Rashad Penny. I think he could be a nice complementary guy that maybe just put him on your bench, see what happens. If an injury happens to one or the other, maybe there's some clarity there in Seattle. And yeah, nothing wrong with Tom Brady. Let me recap here. The 7th round, Michael Thomas, Rashad Bateman. I think that's a really good pick in the 7th round. Kareem Hunt, who again, we kind of mentioned, not sure what's going on with Deshaun Watson. He could be out 6 to 8 games as like the minimum, which would be a boost for Kareem Hunt, Chubb, all the Browns players. There's Dallas Goedert, Dak Prescott. I took Damien Harris. In hindsight, I mean, I think it's very clear. I probably messed this one up. Damien Harris, Jalen Hurts, Tom Brady. Again, the value at quarterback in the 7th round here is so hard to ignore. But I ended up with Damien Harris. There's Jalen Hurts. Justin got Tom Brady. Juju, Russell Wilson, and Aiden gets TJ Hawkinson, which I think is a really, really good value there. I'm a little concerned, though, because Aiden did end up with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then he's got TJ Hawkinson. So those guys are going to kind of compete for targets. But just look at the value. Look at all the round 7 quarterbacks. You have Dak, Jalen Hurts, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson. So round 7 looks like the round to take your quarterback. I know I got a good one in Justin Herbert round 5, but dang, the value on some of those guys round 7 is a little bit unreal. Let me just scan the board real quick. Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, these guys are still on the board here. I like Elijah Moore. I like Christian Kirk. Even Russell Gage at this point is a damn good value here. I have my entire board filled up. I wouldn't be opposed to drafting Kirk or Elijah Moore here. Kadarius Toney, Russell Gage. There's a lot of high upside players here. I didn't get my Mike Evans, so to me, I'm gonna go get Russell Gage, who I feel really good about. We know Chris Godwin's not going to be available for maybe half the season. Russell Gage, to me, I have him as my wide receiver 24, and Chris Godwin. Who knows? The report is he might not be ready till November, even December. So we'll have to wait and see on that. So I like Russell Gage. Again, he's just the guy on my bench right now, my wide receiver 4, but that seems like good value to me. At the 8th round, I'll recap that. You got Dawson Knox, good value there on a tight end. Derek Carr, that's a great pick. So Aiden's all in on the Las Vegas Raiders, who I don't like the Raiders defense, which actually is going to be a good complement to the offense for fantasy. Carr, Jacobs, Waller, Devontae, Renfro. I think all the Raiders options are really fun this year. I do like Zach Ertz a lot, round 8, pick 3. There's Devonta Smith, not my favorite pick. I like the Rashad Penny stash, round 8. That's going to be a guy that Justin can call up if he needs to. From his bench, Garrett Wilson, I got Russell Gage, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow, Kirk Cousins. So round 8 ends with a bang of probably the remaining quarterbacks that you're going to want here. So I really like the value. Round 7, round 8 for quarterbacks is looking really, really good. And what is Scotty Miller's role in Tampa Bay? It's going to be so Tampa Bay's got a lot of receivers that after the big ones. So you have Mike Evans and Russell Gage. That's who I'm projecting to be the top 2 receivers. Godwin will slot in, somewhere as the number 3 receiver along the way. But after that, you're looking at Tyler Johnson, Scott Miller, Brashad Perriman, and Cyril Grayson. It's hard for me to figure out who's going to be the number 4, number 5. But while Godwin's out, there's going to be Tyler Johnson or Scotty Miller potentially being the number 3 receiver. So I think for those guys are more best ball type picks. I think for redraft league, there's probably better options out there, but it's a good idea to think about who that number 3 receiver is going to be. But anyways, I'm up to pick here Kadarius Toney. That's a high upside player that's starting to look good right now. Chris Olave, Chase Claypool, but man, I have to get my guy. I'm all aboard Tony Pollard. If I can get Tony Pollard round 9, to me that's a steal. I've been taking him in the 7th or 8th round of a lot of best ball leagues right now. I think he is the better back over Ezekiel Elliott right now, and all the reports right now are that they want to get Tony Pollard involved a little bit more. And with as good as that Dallas Cowboys defense is, I think there's potential where there's less Dak throwing the ball. Again, losing Cooper, no Gallup for probably half the year, you might see a little bit different Cowboys offense than we are expected. So I think investing in my two, I guess, Lamb, Pollard, Schultz, those are the Cowboys that you want this year, I believe. Hawk was getting triple team, Jameson St. Brown. Yeah, Jameson's a sneaky pick. One of the last picks you can make, Jameson Williams. He could be a lot of fun. I like the Lions schedule down the stretch. Marvin Jones. I also like Zay Jones too. But I think for me, if you're navigating the draft and you just want the Jaguars player that you can get the most out of, it's Trevor Lawrence. I think I play a lot of super flex leagues. Trevor Lawrence is going to look really good as my QB too. Thoughts on Ayuk? I think Ayuk is not going to be, assuming it's Trey Lance, I think Ayuk's going to be a lot of fun. I think he's going to have a lot of big plays and big moments. But you think about the pecking order in that offense, it's going to be a running team. So Trey Lance, Elijah Mitchell, and then the leading playmakers on that team are Debo, probably Kittle, and then Ayuk. So I think he's down in the pecking order on a run-heavy team. I think for best ball leagues, that's probably where you want Ayuk. If you're drafting Ayuk on your redraft team, though, he's probably a guy you want to be able to call up from your bench. So if he's your 4th or 5th receiver, I think that's where the value is on a guy like Ayuk. I took my Tony Pollard, man. He's such a good running back. And Zeke and Pollard. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be closer to 50-50 than people are expecting. Last season, let me just double check what it was last year. Last year, Tony Pollard really caught up here. 237 carries for Zeke, 130 for Tony Pollard. But the receptions department, like Tony Pollard really showed up. He averaged about 2.5 more yards per catch as well, and almost 1.3 yards per carry more. So Tony Pollard more valuable with his touches. Now I'm up to pick. I got 25 seconds here. I already know who I'm going to pick. I just want to recap here. QB Justin Herbert, my running backs. I know they're weak, but it's AJ Dillon, Damien Harris, and then we do have Tony Pollard. So I like that 3 group. We only need to use 2. My receivers, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Mike Williams, Russell Gage. And as we look on the board here, I'm going to run in this pick. It's James Cook. I'm slowly coming on to James Cook in the 10th round. Now I think you guys can. I don't know. Can you guys remember? Can you remember when Buffalo Bills signed JD McKissic for like 2 days, and then McKissic's like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to go back to Washington. There's a role for a pass-catching running back. And I just keep in mind, JD McKissic, he had a tremendous amount of value for the Washington Commanders. Now I'm just plug JD McKissic into the Buffalo Bills offense. And just that probably is a little bit more value than it was in Washington. And essentially James Cook, man, they say he's got like Alvin Kamara-like abilities as a receiver. Not the best runner in between the tackles. I think that's what Devin Singletary is going to hold down the role there. But a guy like James Cook in a PPR league, I mean, I totally would have taken Ramondre Stevenson, but Aiden Tobin's got the draft kits, and what am I going to do? And it looks like Justin also got a running back in that round, Melvin Gordon. So it's hard to get my guys when I'm drafting with these guys. But James Cook, round 10, sign me up in a PPR league. I'm all about that. And yeah, Max making risk. I hate defenses and kickers, man, but there's a way to make it easy. Basically, you want to leave room on the end of your roster spot. The last person on your bench, you should always be looking ahead for the next defense or playing defenses. You should have 2 defenses and then just get a kicker. And yeah, James Cook, after this video, just go watch some James Cook highlights. Get familiar with his game because he's got Josh Allen throwing the ball. And technically, Josh Allen hasn't really thrown a lot to his running backs in the past. But it sounds like no Cole Beasley. They really don't have a starting slot receiver. It sounds like Isaiah McKenzie and Jamison Crowder are going to be kind of 50-50. McKenzie actually ran ahead of Crowder at training camp. But I wouldn't be surprised if they gave James Cook some opportunity in the slot. I'm assuming that's Christian Watson. Let me make this pick real quick. He is on the board for me. I do have 4 bench spots. I mean, I'm good on tight end. I love my Mark Andrews pick, but looking at some of these guys here, I could grab some handcuff running backs. That is my weakest spot. But Watson, Moore, Williams, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I'm not loving the value here on these guys. Tight ends. Not quite there yet. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna grab Trey Lance just to, if anything happens to Hurts, or to Herbert, I got a good guy in Trey Lance. I just think the value there looks good. But hearing about Watson, it sounded. I mean, it was in pads. There was a couple of days where in minicamp back in June he had some drops, but he also made some big catches, and I think that's what's going to be expected. He's going to get a lot of opportunity to run with the ones. But as far as the Green Bay receivers, if you had to draft a Green Bay receiver to use for this year, it's Allen Lazard. When the bullets are flying, third down, Rodgers is probably going to have Allen Lazard as his first read, just a guy that he trusts the most. He's played the most with him the last few seasons. I do like Randall Cobb a lot, but again, how the Packers are going to be operating their offense, it's Aaron Jones, it's AJ Dillon. Those are the guys you want. And if you need a Packer receiver, I think Allen Lazard. And then after that, I probably want Robert Tonyan after. And yeah, at this point, there's only one league where I have kickers. It's funny because like the league that I play with defenses and kickers, I've won the league 3 of the last 4 years, and basically we have Daniel Carlson kicking us field goals the last 2 seasons. Yeah, James Cook, man, he's gonna maybe flirt with 50 catches this year. Again, think JD McKissic, but in the Buffalo Bills offense, it's gonna be a lot of fireworks. Yeah, Trey Lance, can't go wrong with Trey Lance. But as I look here, let me start to just kind of cue some guys up. I mean, McKissic at this point, still good value there. Again, I already know I like my starting receivers: Chase, Lamb, Mike Williams, Russell Gage. There's probably a couple guys here. I'm just going to check JD McKissic. I do like Tyler Allgeier, who might be my last pick there, and I always like Kenneth Gainwell. Let me take a look here at receivers. I'm up to pick. MVS is an interesting guy. I didn't get my Broncos receiver, but man, Tim Patrick is probably going to be valuable. I'm not really seeing any receivers here that I love. At tight end, David Njoku, Logan Thomas. Yeah, this board's looking kind of ugly here. So, I mean, if I wanted to take a running back, I suppose McKissic's probably the guy. I'll just land on McKissic. And then I'm probably done at running back. I got 5 good ones. And yeah, I would love to bring back the free league. I think I have 2 spots available. If you guys want to play in a free Superflex league, the Fantasy Fellowship League, I'm going to enter my email here on the chat. Email me. At thefellowkgb@gmail.com. Email me, and I will send you a personal invite. It's a 12-team league, Superflex. I'm not sure when the draft is going to be. We'll have more info on that later, but there's 2 to 3 spots available. I want to bring it back. Aiden's in it, Justin's in it, and a handful of other people here, but I'm still waiting. I have to send out some emails and make sure I've heard back from everybody. But I think for the most part, I've got at least 7, 8 spots covered. There might be up to 4 or 5 available spots. So we'll get back to that. Give me all the Chiefs receivers. Mahomes going to chuck the ball. I'm thinking Juju is probably the move. I could see Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Mecole Hardman, Sky Moore all kind of basically every game one of those guys will make a play, but the ones that are going to be continuously making plays, it's going to be Kelsey, Juju, Clyde, and in between there, it'll be sprinkles of the other guys. And I'm on the clock here. Let me just filter by all positions. In terms of, there's the Marvin Jones. We talked about Marvin Jones being a guy here. I guess if you're playing defenses and kickers, this is probably where you want to consider doing it because I like a lot of the value of these players later. Colts defense in the AFC South, that's a lot of fun. I mentioned the Cowboys defense being a team that I kind of want to be involved in. I'll take the Cowboys D. I'm already into the CeeDee Lamb and whatnot. And again, I just think Cowboys defense, it's the NFC East, low scoring games in that division. I think the Cowboys defense might be a fun snag there. And as I look at kicker, my favorite, we talked about the Raiders, man. The Raiders offense going to move the ball this year. They're in a dome. They have that sweet new stadium, the freaking Roomba out there. So I'm interested in Daniel Carlson a lot, but we'll worry about that in a sec. As far as late sleeper guys, let me go ahead and just cue some of my favorite flex sleepers that with your last pick, you might want to consider. Tim Patrick, definitely a guy here. I think he's going to compete with Jerry Jeudy for the second receiver spot. I think you're going to see Tim Patrick on the outside a lot, Cortland Sutton on the outside a lot. There should be a lot of Jeudy in the slot, but Tim Patrick, still a good receiver. Keep an eye on Jalen Tolbert. I don't think Michael Gallup's going to be ready for the first month, maybe into mid-October. So you're talking 6 to 8 weeks. We don't see Michael Gallup. Jalen Tolbert could be the number 2 receiver for the Cowboys. Van Jefferson could be the number 3 receiver for Stafford. DJ Chark, interesting. He's going to be the number 2 receiver for Jared Goff, who I think there's room for a vertical receiver in that offense while Jameson Williams is out. So DJ Chark, the first month or 2 months, could have some nice value. Ronald Jones, an interesting sleeper. I will definitely rate the teams here once we get to the end of the draft. And then looking around here, Curtis Samuel, an interesting guy. Don't sleep on Jerick McKinnon. If anything happens to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jerick McKinnon could be a PPR monster. Evan Ingram, there's a Jaguar that is appropriately priced. He's one of the last players you can take. He's had some big seasons. And think about Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson he's been a tight end guy. He's always had kind of 2 tight ends on his line, and that interests me a lot. I'm up to pick here. I guess the top player on the board is David Njoku, who does have the starting tight end spot all to himself. If it is Jacoby Brissett for 10, 12 games, maybe the full season, Njoku should be a busy guy. So I'm going to take a flyer here. He's just my backup tight end. I'll take a flyer there on Njoku. But as I get farther down the list, I just wanted to mention Tyler Allgeier. All the reports are coming out. This is a rookie running back out of BYU. All the reports are coming out that he could lead the Falcons in carries this year. They want to keep Cordero Patterson's 31, 32 years old. He had a miracle season last year. He's not going to lead this team in carries. He could lead the team. He's going to be the leading receiver out of the running back field. But they're talking about Tyler Allgeier being the banger in between the tackles. So don't sleep on him. He's going to be an interesting guy. Mark Ingram, again, we talked about Alvin Kamara missing 6 games. Mark Ingram has potential to be the starter for the first 6 weeks. So I'm interested there. Rashad White, Tampa Bay's running back, potential pass catcher, and then Kenneth Gainwell. So I love taking darts on running backs, especially at this point in the draft. I'm going to go ahead and just take a kicker. Elliott, Cade York. One of these kickers, Suckup, Gold, Greg Joseph. I think all these guys are really good offenses you want to be a part of. I could get the Chargers kicker, Dustin Hopkins. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. We expect the Chargers to score a lot of points, so I'll just take the Chargers kicker here. And then I'm going to end my draft with one of these sleepers that I've marked up here. Let me see. Let me just double check and see. Well, I'm going to look at your teams in a sec. I want to just make sure I got all my flex players queued up here in case. Josh Palmer is an interesting guy. He's going to probably be the number 3 receiver there. But with your last pick, I really like loading up my team with running backs at the end of the draft. Guys like Allgeier, guys like Mark Ingram, Rashad White. Man, if Leonard Fournette goes down week 2, week 3, you're sitting on something here. So save room. Enter your draft. You want to be penciling some of these guys. If anything happens to James Conner, Justin, Darrell Williams, I mean, he was the RB21. He was RB19 last year with Patrick Mahomes. If he gets the full workload behind Kyler Murray, Darrell Williams is a damn good back. Kenneth Gainwell, damn good pass-catching back. Khalil Herbert. And we saw him, when David Montgomery went down last year, you got an 18-point game and a 19-point game out of Khalil Herbert. He's a good running back. Both those games, he ran it over 5 yards per carry. He's a good pass catcher. He can pass block. A guy like Khalil Herbert, definitely interesting to me. So stashing these running backs, that's kind of what I've been liking. I'm going to end my draft with Tyler Allgeier, the Atlanta Falcons. I know it's the Falcons, but what are you going to do? He's a potential starting running back. And then let's take a peek here. Let me see what we got from Justin here. So at the top of his board, Tom Brady, top 10 quarterback, can't complain. You do have Dalvin Cook and James Conner. I love the 1-2 punch there at the running back position. Waddle, Lockett. So he's a little bit weaker on his receivers, but that's okay because he's got a strength at RB. He's got a strength at tight end. He's got a top 5, top 10 quarterback every week as well. And people are kind of sleeping on Lockett. I think Lockett, I know he's got his ups and downs, but if you just leave him in your lineup by the end of the year, he'll be a top receiver. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the flex. I like that you have a lot of competition on the bench, whether that's Penny, Gordon, Boyd. Anything happens to Dalvin Cook, you got Madison covered. There is Jameson Williams, good spot there. Michael Gallup, as soon as the season starts, you'll be able to put Gallup or Odell Beckham on the IR, make another pickup. So I like the stashes there. Overall, it's a good team. The bench is fun because it doesn't have a lot of punch right now, but it's one of those benches where if you're patient, I mean, you got Alexander Madison behind Dalvin Cook. You got Melvin Gordon behind Javonte Williams, Rashad Penny. You got a lot of potential lottery tickets on here. And again, if you're patient, Jameson Williams could end up be starting for you at the end of the year. So I like the team. It's just the bench is going to require some patience. And then with Aiden Tobin here, the Tobin Raiders, he's got Derek Carr. You got I have Derek Carr as my QB 14 or something. He's going to be a fringe QB 1. If he's scoring touchdowns, he could crash the top 10. I just think Carr doesn't run the ball enough to be, a top 5, top 10 threat of a quarterback. But if he steals some touchdowns, he could be a top 10. But either way, we love Derek Carr. We love Josh Jacobs. We love Elijah Mitchell. This is the cheap and alternate. So Justin went RB early. Cook, James Conner. This is what it looks like to do the opposite because he's got Devontae Adams and Diggs. He came back and got Jacobs and Elijah Mitchell. So that's kind of a nice inverse effect there. You're either really good at receiver and get some sleeper running backs late, or you do what Justin did. But I like this group so far. TJ Hawkinson at the 5. I'm in Ross St. Brown. I think opening day I might even start Adam Thielen because I think as long as Adam Thielen's healthy, Kirk Cousins has more touchdown upside than that Lions offense. And then you got 2 lines in there, which is interesting. I think that could be kind of frustrating some weeks here. As one, I can't see both guys blowing up in a certain game, but maybe one or the other. But on the bench, you got Thielen, Olave, Stevenson. There's Sky Moore, Mecole Hardman, which I think is fine. You're taking a potential swing at one of these guys being useful, and then we'll get rid of the guy that probably doesn't speak as much to us. James White, you'll probably put him on the IR to start the year. He's going to be on the PUP list 4 to 6 weeks. But you got Stevenson there, so I like the angle on the Patriots RBs, and then Laviska Shenault. I'm not ready to give up on Laviska Shenault. I think he could be a lot of fun. So I like Aiden's team. I like Aiden's bench. His bench has more to offer than Justin's does right now. Justin, like if his team can win games and play for the patience, Justin's team has reinforcements throughout the year. So I would say Aiden's probably got more punch at the beginning, and Justin's got some potential shoots and ladders where he could really help himself towards the end of the year. Looking at my team real quick. And yeah, I think Viska needs to be used more, man. He needs to kind of be used as a Deebo Samuel type. He's a good player with the ball in his hands. But my team ended up with Justin Herbert in the 5th round, which on paper, man, I really wanted to get a quarterback round 7, round 8. But that's where I got some of my running backs. I have AJ Dillon and Damien Harris. I think both guys are over 1,000 yards all purpose. Maybe they're not 1,000-yard rushers, but between receiving and rushing, they're probably 11 to 1,200 yard players, 8 to 10 touchdowns, maybe as a floor. There's Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb. I love the receiver duo there, super sexy. Mark Andrews, can't complain, and Mike Williams. Like I think the meat of this team is right here: Chase, Lamb, Andrews, Williams. Cowboys D, Dustin, Hopkins, whatever. But the bench, this is a really fun bench. Russell Gage, Tony Pollard, James Cook, and Trey Lance, McKissic, Njoku, and Allgeier. So I do wish I had more depth at the wide receiver position, but I mean, I'm going to be pressed to get Russell Gage in the lineup most weeks. And I think the easiest thing to find, if you want to play the free agency game, receiver is the easiest position to find. It's the easiest position to find throughout the season. So there's going to be a ton of those guys. And it looks like I lost my spot. But anyways, this was a lot of fun. We're going to end it here. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Aiden, for hanging out with us tonight. And again, if you guys are interested in playing fantasy football with the fellowship group, email me, the fellow KGB. I did put my email address in there. So check that out. We'll look forward to seeing you guys next Thursday. We'll do another mock draft, pick number 7. I might even whip out a couple other mock drafts. I want to get Yahoo. I want to get Sleeper. I want to do a couple other formats and team sizes. So thank you guys so much for your time. Have a good rest of your Thursday night, and we'll see you in a future video. Adios. Peace.